host of the Gridiron.
The big thing is, of course, Kirk Cousins. There's a bunch of bridge players that we can possibly get out there, and of course, he had that he came in one time. Actually, a couple times he said that. He said, "You like that? You like that?" Like after the game was over with, I know one time he threw for over 500 yards. I think it was against the Bucs, and he started screaming, "You like that? You like that?" But I mean, he's going to be. Oh my God, he plays 14 games. 100 million of his 180 is guaranteed, I think. But if they let him go before a certain time or whatever, they'll save $10 million or something like that. I'm going to read in his article. But basically, there's a good chance he played 14 games for the Falcons, made $90 million. Say. So basically at that rate, if he played a whole season, he would have made $100 million. I mean, it's just like, that's just crazy. That's absolutely freaking crazy. But as I said, I was kind of wondering, Falcons expected to release Kirk Cousins after just one season following a lackluster play. Cousins signed a 4-year, $180 million contract with the Falcons in March. When Kirk Cousins signed his 4-year, $180 million contract with the Falcons in March, no one expected that he would be benched before the end of his first season. With Cousins being benched for poor play and rookie Michael Penix Jr. taking his place, the Falcons are now expected to release the quarterback after the season, according to Adam Schefter. Shefty. Cousins is owed $10 million roster bonus on March 17th, according to the report. Executives across the NFL expect Cousins to be released before then to save themselves $10 million. The Falcons do cut Cousins before March 17th and save the $10 million. They are still on the hook for most of Cousins' contract. Of Cousins' $180 million, $100 million is of it's guaranteed. If the Falcons do cut Cousins prior to next season, they're going to eat $65 million in dead cap, according to SpotTrack. Cousins' cap hit for the next season would have been $40 million if he were still on the roster, but cutting him adds another $25 million to the Cousins cap charge toward the Falcons' salary cap for next season. When rookie Michael Penix Jr. set to start for Cousins on Sunday, Cousins will have been the most expensive bridge quarterback in NFL history. Cousins also has a no-trade clause, and according to report, he is not expected to waive it. So, the 36-year-old quarterback was reportedly frustrated that the Falcons had taken a quarterback with the 8th overall pick in the draft last season, picking Cousins' eventual replacement instead of a player who could help them win now. Cousins' frustrations with how things were handled have executives believing that the quarterback is not going to do the team any favors and waive his no-trade clause, according to the report. Cousins will be in a similar situation this offseason as Russell Wilson was last offseason if he is in fact released. Wilson was released by the Broncos last offseason, yet the team is still paying him $53 million this season, according to SpotTrack. Wilson signed a 1-year league minimum contract with the Steelers. Now, once again, how benefit, it's like a league minimum, right? Deal with the Steelers. I mean, obviously the Giants would not be going with all the injuries we have and all that. The Giants would not be going to the promised land. But if we had Daniel Jones and we released him and we had on a league minimum Russell Wilson. I think the quarter. I'm not saying once again. I'm not saying we're going to the playoffs. I'm not saying we're going to Super Bowl. None of that. But our quarterback play would be a little bit better. And on the league minimum, too. That's because the Broncos are paying the lion's share of his salary. So we could have got Russell Wilson for like next to nothing this year. Right? Could have brought him in, kicked the tires on him, and it's like, see if he would be our maybe bridge quarterback or something like that or whatever. But another great Shane move with Wilson. The league, it's not like we had to bring him in. and sign him to 15 or 20 million. It's like, ooh, I don't know. That's a heck of an expensive backup quarterback. I don't know. For a league minimum, yeah. I don't know. Let's see. Is this? No. Cousins will be in position to sign a league veteran contract with another team like Wilson while still being paid by the Falcons not to play for them. So, through 9 games, things were going swimmingly for Cousins and the Falcons. They were 6-3 and atop the NFC South. Now the team is 7-7. Actually, they just won, so they were 6-3. They went to 6-7, and then they beat literally. I'm going to quite possibly say, possibly the worst team, because the Raiders might be worse than the Giants. Hard to believe, I know, but so they finally beat, and the Raiders, they 15-9. They snapped their 4-game losing streaks. Now they're 7-7, but that puts them right back in, because I think the Bucs are 8-6. So they got a shot here at winning the division. The Falcons beat the Raiders 15-9 on Monday, snapping the skid, but Cousins played poorly in the win, prompting head coach Raheem Morris to make the change. Cousins has completed almost 67% of his passes for 3,500 yards. Really, really good numbers. 18 touchdowns, so he would have had over 20 touchdown passes, which is still not phenomenal if you're paying a guy $45 million a year. But he had 16 interceptions. In addition to throwing 16 interceptions, Cousins has 12 fumbles, which is tied for the most in the NFL with Baker Mayfield. Across the last 5 games, Cousins has thrown 1 touchdown with 9 interceptions. I mean, he's just Sounds like Kirk Cousins will force the Falcons to pay up to make him go away. The breakup between Cousins and the Falcons is going to be ugly, costly, and public. Does not seem as if Cousins is going to do the Falcons any favors. If you'll recall, the multi-year deal Kirk Cousins signed in March includes a no-trade clause that he could wield. And after Atlanta blindsided Cousins by drafting, heir apparent Michael Penix Jr. with the 8th overall pick in last April's draft, there is no reason to believe Kirk will want to do the organization a solid and waive it to facilitate a move that will help the team get off the hook for some of the money owed. Now, I mean, I don't know, after seeing, how he's played this year, who's going to really want to trade for him, but you never know. Ultimately, the expectation is that the Falcons will end up paying Cousins $90 million to play 14 games with the team and be done with him before his $10 million roster bonus kicks in on March 17th. If we could only get a $90 million parting gift on our way out of the door. Not bad, huh? Play 14 games and get $90 million. Jesus, God. What's next for Kirk Cousins and the Falcons? There is zero chance that the Falcons find a trade partner for Cousins. Nope. And Cousins would waive his no trade protection to accept. Maybe the unnamed executives in Schefter's reporting are leveraging this situation to sweeten the trade pot and limit the flexibility the Falcons will have this offseason. I just can't imagine Atlanta ponying up more than $27 million to keep Cousins as a backup. Absolutely not. That's just crazy. That's just absolutely crazy. But, I mean, it kind of leads you to, so there's definitely some, bridge quarterbacks to talk about here, right? So you got the ones now, according to this report anyway. The Giants don't have any quarterbacks under contract for next season. How cool is that? But Tommy Chicken Cutler Parmesan is an exclusive rights free agent. That means basically if the Giants offer him a contract, he must sign it. He can't say, well, let me go test the free agent market. Let me see if I can get something. No. He has to sign it. So, I mean, the Giants going to get him or whatever, $900,000, $1 million, so they can get him on the cheap if they want him. Now, of course, if Shane and or Dable want to leave him, he may not come back because, if a new coach comes in, if they don't know if they're going to want him or not. But, if Tommy is still here, next year, so they can sign him and get him on the cheap. But I mean, as of right now, nobody is signed. Right? Drew Lock's not. Obviously, Daniel Jones is gone. Boyle's not. And DeVito's not. And the quarterbacks. So also, that's something to keep in mind too when you look at the salary cap that the Giants have next year. It's we don't have any quarterbacks. That could be a problem. Of course, if you draft one, even if you draft say Shedeur, say number 1 overall, I think that's around $10 million a year. I mean, so that's far, far from paying somebody $40 or $50 million a year. But I mean, there are some bridge quarterbacks that the Giants could look at. Obviously, it's got to take two to tango, right? Just because the Giants, I'm just throwing a name out there. Calm down. Say the Giants go after Russell Wilson, right? Bring him in. That's the two to tango. The Giants can't go to Russell and say, well, no, we're going to sign you for 1 year. We'll draft the number 1, right? We're going to draft so-and-so, so we're going to bring you in, then we're going to let you go. So Russell could say, yeah, or he could say no. He might want to go someplace where he has a chance maybe to hang around. He has a chance where he's going to be there maybe 2 years or something like that. He may not want to. He's been bouncing. He went from Seattle. He was in Denver for a short period of time. That was in Pittsburgh. He may not want to be in Cincinnati the next year, and in Cleveland the next year, and in Buffalo, then Miami. He doesn't want to. He might want to sign a couple-year contract or something like that. So it's going to take two to tango. But what the heck we out here? So according to this report, even with drafting a quarterback surely in their plans as the Giants tumble toward a top 2 pick, they still will need to add a veteran bridge insurance policy. There will be a wide range of flawed options, available depending on how much the Giants want to invest in the most important position on the roster, the most important position in all sports. Of course, and just to report, they said the top dollar options would be, apparently according to them, Sam Darnold and Russell Wilson. Now, I mean, the thing is, you have to look at with Sam Darnold. I mean, boy, it looks like the best out of the backups. Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, the guy, he went in there. He never threw passes to any of these guys. He never threw passes to Slayton, Wando Robinson, Malik. They didn't throw passes to any of those guys. I mean, that's helpful. That's some helpful stuff, right? And he did good. I mean, he completed. I'm gonna forget this, but I think he completed passes of 25 and 23 or 23 and 22 or something like that. He completed a 17-yard pass, 2 16-yard passes. I mean, he was pushing the ball down the field. And he just came in off the sideline and just, 123 yards. I mean, you double that. That's almost 250 yards for a game. Not bad. Behind a porous offensive line and all that and everything. And the other team knows you got to throw the football, right? So, but I'm saying, that's, they're all putting out their resume, and there might be something after the season's over with, right? Dable might say, "Wow, the guy didn't do too bad for us. Let's see if Boyle might want to come back." Right? Who knows? But according to this report, they got, they say Sam Darnold and Russell Wilson are the top 2 most expensive. Now you got to look what Darnold is. Is he really that good, or is it just a system? Is everybody healthy there in Minnesota? He's got some really good weapons to throw the ball, though. Of course, Mr. Jefferson is off the freaking charts. That guy. I said, look what Darnold did with the Jets and Carolina. Wasn't too good, but he's really doing good in Minnesota. So it's like, so is he gonna parlay his hand of cards that he did in Minnesota into a big time contract and just tank? Interesting. But according to this report, there's Russell Wilson or the Sam Darnold are the most expensive bridge quarterbacks. Then they got Justin Fields and Jameis Winston are the middle, right? Now, Winston, I've said it all the time. Winston's really, really good. He can throw you into any game, but he can also throw you out of any game, right? I mean, he could put up 6 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, right? I mean, you're going to get some good. You're going to get yards from Winston. You're going to get some touchdowns, but you're also going to get some turnovers. It is what it is. You got to accept what you're going to get. So you got and Justin Fields. I mean, maybe Justin Fields just needs with the Bears and then it was with the Steelers. I mean, it's just maybe he needs just someplace else, a fresh start someplace else might do him good with some better weapons. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But he won't cost you a ton of money. Then they have this report here, right? The cheap options, right? Is they got Drew Lock, right? I don't even know if Drew would want to come back. I'll have to wait and see. I don't know. They got Joe Flacco. I don't even know if he's even going to be playing next year, but Joe Flacco, Jacoby Brissett, and Mac Daddy Jones. Now, I'm not so sure about Mac Daddy Jones, but Jacoby Brissett is a fine backup option. He would be relatively cheap. He can certainly start at games for you. That's for sure. He can certainly be a good, decent bridge quarterback for you. But the thing is, it's do you want to get it cheap? I mean, obviously, after the season's all over with here, the Giants got to see where they're drafting at. They're drafting in the top 2, and they like both those quarterbacks, like Shedeur and Cam Ward, right? Then they can go for maybe a cheaper option at bridge quarterback. Because it's like, well, let's take one of the cheaper bridge option quarterbacks because we have our quarterback of the future. The Giants were to win a football game and fall to 5th, 6th, 7th, or whatever, something, fall out of the quarterback race, right? And then they would have to take maybe a quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd round. Well, then they might want to get one of those higher bridge options where they might have to get a quarterback in there for a couple years, maybe go out and maybe see if they can get Russell Wilson maybe for a couple years, while they still find their quarterback in the future. So it's, a lot of it depends, also on how the Giants finish this season, where they're going to wind up drafting at. I mean, it could be where they only like Shedeur. It's Shedeur or nothing. And the Giants are drafting number 2, and the Raiders are drafting number 1, and the Raiders maybe take Shedeur, and the Giants we don't like Cam Ward. We don't think, or Dable Shane said we don't like him, so maybe we might have to go out and maybe get Russell Wilson or something like that. Sign him to a couple-year deal because we still need to find our quarterback in the future. So a lot of it's going to depend upon where the Giants fall and all that and everything. But there are some quarterbacks out there. There are always quarterbacks out there. But the Giants, none of them apparently going to take the Giants to the promised land or anything like that. A lot of it's got to wait as soon as the season's over with, right, to wait and see where the Giants finish in the draft, because then they can look back and they can look and see, where are we? What quarterbacks can we draft? Right. All right, guys, been 1 hour and 32 minutes. Very G-Man, thanks for hanging in there with me, brother. Great talking to you, pal. So whoever spent any time listening to me live, thank you. If anybody's going to spend any time watching the replay this, once again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me. As always, you guys stay safe out there and go Giants. Woo! Oh, yeah.